Hey folks, this is the other Barack coming to you live and direct from an undisclosed location. We have an awesome video of Victor Davis Hanson talking about Columbia University. It is sharp. Stick around for the whole thing and let's talk about it after.
Have you noticed the dilemma that higher education is in? Recently, the Trump administration cut off $400 million in federal grants and aids to Columbia University for its inability to stop rampant, overt, and shameless anti-Semitism on the campus. For a long time, the university has decided it's partisan, it's political, and it's left-wing, and it's proud of it. It's widespread in higher education, and the country's been appalled by it. But for some reason, higher education seems to equate Jewish Americans, and by definition Israel, with the white oppressor side of their Marxist binary. Hello, this is Victor Davis Hanson for the Daily Signal. Have you noticed the dilemma that higher education is in? Recently, the Trump administration cut off $400 million in federal grants and aids to Columbia University for its inability to stop rampant, overt, and shameless anti-Semitism on the campus. It's widespread in higher education, and the country's been appalled by it. But for some reason, higher education seems to equate Jewish Americans, and by definition Israel, with the white oppressor side of their Marxist binary, which is non-white oppressed versus white oppressor. What I'm getting at is it's almost as if people who chase Jewish students down, scream at them, yell anti-Semitic epithets, disrupt their classes, have a free pass because they're self-described diversity, equity, inclusion students. There's other things that are going on that are even more serious, though. For a long time, the university has decided that it will make no more pretense that it's disinterested. It's partisan, and it's political, and it's left-wing, and it's proud of it. We can see that in the way that speakers are treated at campus. If you go to a campus as an invited speaker and you speak in any fashion to express doubts about abortion on demand, transgenderism in general, New Green Deal, unlimited support for the Ukraine war, you may find yourself the object of student disruptions. We've had one recently at Stanford University. We've had the law school disrupted by students who tried to shout down a federal judge, but that's not unique. It's everywhere. The university also believes that it's not subject to the 1964 and 1965 civil rights statutes. By that I mean they have instituted racial, gender, and sexual orientation bias in admissions, promotions, hiring. It's worse even than that. Theme houses, that's the word they use for racially segregated dorms. Safe spaces, that's the word they use for racially set-aside zones on campus for particular people of a particular race. In addition to all of that, there's no protection for anybody, really, to tell you the truth, especially an elite campus. If you're accused of a crime, especially sexual assault, sexual harassment, there's no guarantee that you will be accorded protections under the 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendment. All of this is starting to change. We're in a perfect storm as far as higher education. There are fewer students because of declining fertility. Our fertility rate is 1.6. Nationwide. More importantly, people are questioning the value of a higher education degree. With the onset of diversity, equity, and inclusion therapeutic classes, the old reason to go to the university, to be roundly and disinterestedly educated, disappeared. So students did not get formal instruction in analytics, in English composition, in spoken and written fluency in English, etc., common historical knowledge, math and science literacy. And employers are starting to know it. They're starting to see that if they're going to hire someone from Harvard, Princeton, Yale, or Stanford versus Texas Tech or SMU or Georgia Tech, they're not going to be better prepared. They're probably going to be less well prepared, and they're probably going to go to human resources on the first day of the job. I'm exaggerating, but you can see what I'm saying. But there are other forces that don't look good for higher education besides fertility and the questioning among the American people of the quality and value of a bachelor's degree from our elite institutions. We're 1.7 trillion in student debt, and the Trump administration is looking at this. And there are certain recommendations on the horizons as we speak that the university is not prepared for. Number one, the House and the Senate are trying to adjudicate how much they should tax the multi-million-dollar income on many of these multi-billion-dollar endowments. It could be 15 to 20%. We've mentioned cutting off federal funds to universities that do not protect their Jewish students. There's also another factor going on, and that is National Science Foundation, National Institutes of Health grants. The federal government is now saying, don't charge us an overhead of 60%, 50%, 40%. You universities don't do that with the Gates Foundation grants or other private sector grants. From now on, you're not going to charge more than a 15% overhead. When you add that radical reduction in surcharges to a possible and likely tax on endowment income, the universities, in many cases, the most prestigious and wealthy, may be looking at $300, $400, $500 million shortfalls in their annual operating budget, besides any punitive action that the federal government exercises because of their unwillingness or inability to protect Jewish students. Do we see any reaction from college presidents? Is there a summit? Is there a sense of urgency? Is there some consensus that we don't charge the federal government more than we do private grant-making institutions? Is there some notion that we should, I don't know, honor the content of our color, of our character, rather than obsess on the color of our skin? I don't see anything coming from the universities other than outrage. But they have a rendezvous with destiny, and it's here before they know it. Thank you very much. This is Victor Davis Hanson for the Daily Signal.
At the end of that video, he said exactly what I was waiting to say, that there's no summit, there's no conference, there's just outrage. There's just outrage on college campuses, and it poses the question, it begs the question, what progress has been made since the 7th of October? I have a very good friend. She is from New York City. She is the first to ever file and sue against a university in the United States for anti-Semitism, this university in particular in New York, NYU. And she still travels across the world. She still speaks in front of politicians. She still speaks in front of school board members. She still speaks in front of school presidents. She still is saying she's still. Still no summits, still no conferences, still outrage. It shows you one thing and one thing only. There is a selective outrage here that is going to continue. And there is a bias here that is going to continue. And of course, we cannot stop exposing what this is to create effective messaging. I for sure will not stop, but it shows you exactly what these universities are really interested in doing, which is also allowing these to continue so that they have more and more reason to feed into these students who they know are paying the checks for their universities. Thank you so much. I'll see you next video. If you want to continue the conversation, you can support my work for free. Discord does not cost a thing. It is the best way to connect with me and others who are seeking the truth. The link is in the description. But if you want to take it one step further, my Patreon to the Israel you don't see, uncovering the untold stories of what mainstream media does not show you. The link is in the description, and it helps me to continue this work. Or if you're just looking to help this thing go, PayPal and Buy Me a Coffee is a really easy way to support me. This channel, this work does not happen without all of you. Thank you. I love you. I'll see you next time.